There's a lot of things in metal that are deemed silly or like melodramatic. But there's a certain honesty in that, you know? There's a certain honesty in the fucking picked on loner fucking screaming his head off and playing powerful guitar, you know what I mean? So, I'm not saying that everybody is a picked on loner that makes metal, but some of the things that appeal to me about it, so.
What are you picking up on?
Just that general feeling of being totally tranquil, serene, just, you know, the essence of nature seeping in and then becoming one with it. You could stand here in a trance for long enough. Next thing before you know it, you feel like your feet are connected to the roots of the forest, your hands are connected to all the branches, and you're just at one with it. You're a part of it.
Most black metal artists, when they say the word kill, they'd be like, kill!
Yeah.
But then you could take it to like something like you do.
I like to like.
Can you do it loud? No? Oh, that's fine.
Maybe.
If you don't want to, that's fine. It'd be cool if you did, though. Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Black metal has always been outsider art in its most brutal form. Back in the 80s, European bands like Venom, Bathory, and Celtic Frost were the first to release these kinds of violent, lo-fi records filled with blast beats, satanic imagery, and shrieking vocals. As black metal birthed a second wave out of Norway and a third wave from the US, the most compelling figures to emerge out of the genre's evolution are the true loners. Artists who play all their own instruments and don't just scream about isolation and misanthropy, but live it. These one-man black metal bands convey a rage and emotional noise that make the people who conceive them even more fascinating. This is who we set out to find. Three living one-man black metal artists who have never before given the public a peek into their solitude. The gold standard of US black metal is Leviathan, a band created solely by Jeff Whitehead under the guise of an entity called Rest. As Leviathan, Whitehead built songs with layers of complex instrumentation and vocals that sound like the strangulated howls of the devil. Jeff has always been adverse to publicity. Leviathan has never played live, leaving almost 30 releases over a dozen years to speak for themselves.
For a long time, you were just completely inaccessible. I had a hard time finding you. Everybody I tried to, when I was trying to track you down, everybody was like, you'll never find him. You'll never find Jeff Whitehead. He's fallen off the face of the earth.
Well, because I don't own a computer, so I don't answer my emails. I never look at them. I don't have time for that, and I'm not into sharing.
It's a life that has forced Jeff into an almost solitary existence. Self-taught on first drums and then guitar, at an early age he was already developing an insane work ethic. One that removed him from the everyday reality of his life and dictate that he focus only on learning and creating. Whether he was playing in math rock or punk bands, Jeff never relented on developing the intense and absolutely brutal sound of what would later be called Leviathan.
I've always been in bands that I wish were harder. I wish were fucking more punishing. I wish were more crushing. And that band Gift Horse I was in the early 90s, I would always like suggest songs, and he was always telling me to get a 4-track. Well, I got my 4-track. So I was just doing it for me. I was just doing it, you know? And I'm like, whoa, I'm making music that I would actually like to listen to, so I get them. A lot of the reason why I never worked with anybody else, because like when I was really hot shit and doing all that, putting out all those demos, I was like, I don't want to wait for somebody. I want to fucking do it now. I want to do it every chance I have. And so doing that in my house was a way to do that. I've always wanted Leviathan to be fast. Leviathan's not that fast, but it's as fast as I can play. The older I get, the harder it is to play like fast for long periods of time. I've always wanted Leviathan to deal with like the more of a left-handed path aspect, you know. Not LaVey Satanism, but, you know, anger and just kind of be more ferocious. And then like the other stuff I've done is just like a little bit mellower and like more relaxed and less of an objective for the final outcome, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like just whatever happens, happens.
This is Tasmania. We're on an island off the southern coast of Australia covered with mist-shrouded mountains and endless miles of bushland. It's not exactly where you'd expect to unearth a black metal band, but it's where we found Russell Menzies, better known by his pseudonym Sin Nana, and his band Striborg. Unlike other black metal artists who live in the world their music rejects and have to actively seek out the isolation they scream about, Russell's life is naturally removed from society. Striborg's strongest influence is the natural realm. His connection to this landscape is what brought us halfway around the world to Medina, Tasmania. Are the people here in town aware of who you are and what you do?
No, not at all. Nobody knows about that at all.
What do you think their reactions would be if they knew who you are and what you do?
I don't think it'd be a very good thing at all. If people were to Google up Striborg or black metal, the negative shit comes to you on the screen, you know, all the bad stuff about it, so they'd probably absolutely hate me and throw rocks through the window or whatever. But yeah, all they hear is when I play the drums and so forth. What I'm trying to do here is, you know, call the shots, keep contact with humanity to a bare minimum. But I've found that as the years go by, the solitude that I used to enjoy so much is becoming a problem. It's more like a window into depression, because I think I've had long-term solitude, and that's what the main effect has been. I've spent too much time alone, and it drives you a bit nuts.
If you're channeling this into your music, how does it translate?
I'm just a carrier. I'm just like the medium for doing this. The instruments are mimicking the elements and the essence of nature for sure. Like guitar would be the mist, the frost, the snow, winter and so forth. Drums will be like the heart of the land, the trees and the rocks and certain things like that. The vocals are like the voice of the forest. It's all just about, its atmosphere is important, nothing else matters.
Nobody we met personified their lyrics about isolation and despair like Scott Connor, the man behind Xasthur. We tracked him down outside of Los Angeles, amid the palm trees of Alhambra, California, an unlikely place as any for a guy who makes such dark, depressive music. Xasthur's sound is unmistakable. Walls of guitar noise and mournful keyboards, topped off with strangled screams. Scott is extremely protective of his identity. Until now, he's never shown his face on camera. But he agreed to let us shoot at his house, where he writes and records all of his music.
This is the drum set I bought a few years ago. It's not a drum machine, like contrary to popular belief. It's not 3 loops or anything like that.
Scott has put out almost 24 releases since 1999. And his style has earned Xasthur attention outside of the usual circle of black metal fans.
This looks like the newer one, the Revenge.
I had to have it. I spent the last of my money about 6 months ago buying it. I told myself I would stop putting money into music, but I kind of had to have it.
Why did you decide to stop putting money into music?
Music doesn't really give you enough in return to keep putting the little you got into it all the time and time again. The music, it's really like a love-hate thing that I have for it, you know. In the literal sense of doing it, writing it and recording it. That's when it doesn't matter who listens to it and who doesn't. It doesn't matter how much money I have or how much I do or don't have. Those things don't matter to me at all when I'm literally doing it. There's a lot of bands that are just people pleasers, and I'd rather take the risk of trying new things. Whether it's a different kind of sound from a different place that most metal people aren't always familiar with, or whether it's trying, I'll play any instrument I can get my hands on. I don't even care if I can play it or not. I'll figure out how to play it. That's what I am concerned most with, you know. I keep a notebook and a pen by my bed while I'm falling asleep, and I wake up, I write something that's coming to me between the times when you're in and out of sleep, and that's when things come to me the most. What I do is a mirror of my mind, but what's worse is that it's a mirror of other people's minds. And that's...
The despair, you mean? Like the...
Yeah, just more than that, just kind of, hate, fear, death. The other thing that's like not really very understood is that I don't recall ever making claims I can't back up in my lyrics, like I'm gonna kill myself. I don't do that. But instead what I do is I just say, hey, here's a few reasons for you listening to this. You might want to look into dying and killing yourself. You might want to look into that.
Tracking Jeff down for this project took months. When we finally got in touch with Jeff, he was tattooing at a shop in Chicago. So I made an appointment with him and got a tattoo. It's the artwork from Leviathan's album, Howl Mockery at the Cross. I guess he realized we were serious about getting him on camera, so he invited us out to his place in Oakland.
I was 23, it's like barely any tattoos. Me getting tattooed by Hariyoshi in Japan by hand. Shit. I was on a soccer team called the Darth Vaders. Yeah.
1978.
Yeah, San Jose.
Was that you right there?
Yeah.
Nice. Could we talk at all about growing up?
Seemed like it took forever. I was born in Stanton, California, in a hospital in Stanton. Lived in Huntington Beach. Moved to San Jose right before first grade. 8th grade, moved to Santa Cruz. Got kicked out of 10th grade in high school.
Why'd you get kicked out of 10th grade?
I'm a pain in the ass. I just kept getting in trouble, so. Then I ran away from home. My dad lived in Oakland. I ran away up there.
Why did you leave your mom's house and go live with your dad?
Because I got in trouble at school, and I know I was going to be in for it. When I got home, I just didn't want to deal with it. The stepdad, all that.
Oh, right, yeah. And so you went up to live with your dad in Oakland?
Yeah, that didn't work out. I became a ward of the court, which means that your parents don't want you at their houses, so you are in group homes. First group home I was in San Francisco was run by this guy, Father Gregory. He's a Greek Orthodox priest. And he was hiring guys straight out of SQ, straight out of Quentin.
San Quentin.
To be counselors. These guys are getting us baked and showing us titty magazines, the whole bit, you know what I mean? Like, you're shaking your head and going, no, but like at the time I was like, awesome. This guy showed me how to roll a crutch. I'm smoking weed, awesome. But looking back on
You
it,
can
it's
understand,
probably not
that does not make any sense.
Oh, it doesn't. But he was...
Ex-prisoners.
He probably, paid him and you can eat as much as you want or something, And they were pretty fucked up. How old was I? I think it was like just about to turn 16, and I had fucked up the last one in San Francisco. I'd been in 3 in San Francisco, and this was the last straw. And they were going to send me to a boys' home in Modesto, and I was like, fuck that. And I just took my skateboard, and went and stayed at friends' houses.
Jeff spent the late 80s homeless, living on people's couches, all the while making a name for himself as a skater. He wound up in a bunch of skate magazines, and even on the cover of Nintendo's Skate or Die 2.
I started skateboarding and getting good right after street style, like Mark Gonzalez and Tommy Guerrero. I went to high school with Tommy Guerrero. And those guys were just doing all this crazy stuff on the street. Then 1990 rolled around, and vert was out. It was all street. So if you didn't skate street, you were out. So all these amazing vert skaters had nothing, they had nowhere to go. But yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time.
When he wasn't skating or getting busted for it, Jeff was designing skate graphics and logos.
I sold this to Thunder Trucks in '91 for $50. They still use it, and I get no fucking money. I mean, considering the fact that it's their icon and they're still using it, where's my money?
Back in late 80s, all I knew was how to play drums. That was my sole purpose in life at that time, my raison d'etre.
And when did you first start playing in bands?
Seriously, I started in 1989.
How old were you?
Oh, I was only 16. We were into extreme metal, but it was like Black Death Doom. We couldn't decide what we wanted to play. I wanted to play fast stuff because it was all new to me. and our guitarist was into really slow, like Candlemass type stuff, and then another guitarist was into Testament and Metallica.
So it's just
So it was just a real mishmash.
yeah.
And it was probably because of those kind of bands and that kind of beginning that made me realise, you know, going solo is definitely the more desirable way to go. So then I started teaching myself how to play guitar. In '95 I was ready to record. A Tragic Journey Towards the Light, that was the first album. It's not a demo like people think, it really is an album. It was like this serious conceptual thing, had like lots of intros and a full-length kind of piece that worked together, yeah. It was recorded using one stereo bouncing into another stereo. So we'd record the guitar track, then play it from A deck to B deck. While it was recording into B deck, I was using finger drums on the Casio keyboard in mono, and then we put that tape back into the first one again to do the vocals. So third time around it had the three main instruments there.
How did your sound change from the Striborg's first releases up into where you are now?
In the earlier recordings it was a lot faster sounding, more frantic, more urgent. They were also the years that I used to take drugs. Like, I used to smoke pot every day and take LSD occasionally and stuff like that. It was when I stopped doing that that I realised that those substances were actually clouding my vision. Because once I stopped doing that, I was able to create more emotional and depressive music, and I wanted to go that way. I don't know whether it's because it's a coincidence or what, but that was the way I wanted to go when I became straight. Now I've been straight for 10 years.
Despite an unorthodox career path, Russell has a somewhat conventional life, but he also has these cloaks of black metal identity, Striborg and Sinana. They almost seem like outlets for expressing a point of view at odds with his day-to-day life.
I'm a normal human being like everybody else, and I'm a father and a husband. That's when it draws the line that there's Russell there, and Sinana is like the entity for creating the music and the dark visions that I have. There's at times that, you know, it'll be one and the same, and other times that it definitely is so worlds apart. The real Striborg started when I lived here, 2000, turn of the millennium. By moving here, I could reflect on what it had been like living in a city and being around people all the time and all the rubbish I put up with. I just became recluse and I just cut all those problems out of my life and became semi-happy for doing so.
The artist that you are, because of like all the long hours that you put in of like recording, practicing, creating all the time, you pretty much stay here and that's what you do.
Yeah.
And this was the way that you dealt with life, is to just stay in, stay alone, record, create?
Yeah, for a long time, you know. I had nothing else. That's all I had. I mean, it's all I could count on. It's the only way that I was able to count on myself, too, you know, so.
And did you have like any jobs growing up? Did you work?
Yeah, I've had a few, you know, on and off. I mean, I don't hold down jobs very well.
Do you not like working because it takes away from time about just recording?
That's the only part of being unemployed I want to talk about, you know, because
Okay.
it's just like,
Scott's aversion to revealing anything too personal makes it impossible to figure out how or why he's carved this life out for himself. But it speaks volumes about his need to do everything on his own and create such brutal, compelling music. When did you first discover, like, you wanted to play music, you wanted to create?
I just started doing it like probably after high school, you know.
Were you working with other people, or did you always just work by yourself?
I used to work with other people, but back then, like, nobody wanted to play black metal, and if you explained it to them, they just, you know, nobody wanted to play any kind of music like that. And so the people I would find were people that were not really into it, and I would tell them do it anyway. I even tried to bribe people and, you know, play drums for a couple hours and I'll pay you some money or something. Like, it just didn't work. There was nothing I could do, you know. So
You never perform live. Is that why? Why don't you perform live?
I know what I put into it, and I know that that can't exactly be recreated live. The only way it would work is I'd have to find session people, and I don't really like doing that. I don't like, I mean, it's just part of the, one of the things about metal, especially these days, black metal is just like a lot of bands and musicians, they just recycle the hell out of each other, and I'm not into that. It's not the kind of band that you go to see. It's not like some rowdy, beer-drinking kind of music. That's pretty much why. And I mean, another problem too is like, I do a lot of songs, so I don't really remember how to play half the shit I write.
What appeals to you about coming here?
It's close to absolute quiet, and it's as dark as outdoors can get. It's depressing in a way, you know, like at night. It's just, I don't know, it's like, I don't know what makes it more depressing, the people or the emptiness of it. I'm not quite sure of that, really, you know. But I come here sometimes, you know.
So, I mean, do you just not like people? So
I just never understood people. I don't think they really ever understood me, and I don't have anything in common with very few people, at least. I don't really see any worth in a lot of people. I find human beings most of the time to be really arrogant, with nothing to be arrogant about. In the back of my mind, I'm always trying to think of ways to knock them off their high horse if I could, you know. But at the same time, when I meet somebody who I think is going to be a piece of shit like everybody else, and they turn out to be a really interesting, amazing person who might even think the same way that I do, I'm really glad about that.
Do you feel different at all when you put the makeup on?
Yeah, I do. I do feel a bit different. This kind of music, this kind of belief system, it's got very little to do with being a human being and showing yourself as a human being. As human beings, and even as spirits, we are all individual and we are all alone. We are very alone. Even if you have a soulmate in this world, you can still feel so utterly alone. When we die, we are alone.
whole thing of wearing the corpse paint, it helps me remove the human factor. You know, it takes away the human factor of making the music and just like, it's just a music that like it was formed by itself. Like, makes it a little bit more mysterious, mythical. Like, it is an image for the record, and it's, I think it's important. Like, done well, corpse paint is, I think it's cool. I know it's goofy, but there's something to it that adds atmosphere.
You used to have like long hair, wear the corpse paint, and black robes, but you don't do that anymore.
What I do is what it's all about, not what I look like. It just kind of started seeming kind of juvenile to me. There's nothing that I can't stand more is like somebody who's like, you know, in their 50s or something, and they're still wearing corpse paint. Their black metal shirts just have teen angst written all over them, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's just time to really cut the crap. You know, the way my life really is and the way I really feel is like, I don't want to portray myself as anything. You know, I don't need positive or negative kind of attention, and if I have like long hair and have to go to the grocery store, I don't feel like talking about Dark Throne with a fellow long-haired person. I want to, you know, like, I don't talk to people. When I say I want to be left alone, I mean it, you know.
We're at Fort Ashbury, where I lived for about 10 years.
Is this where you recorded like all the early demos and like 10 Sublevel of Suicide and all those records?
Yeah, I recorded everything up to Tentacles of Horror here. A long period of time, I got up, went and got coffee, work on music, go to work. This is when I worked in North Beach. Go to work all day, come home, work on music until I went to sleep. You know, that's all I did really. I poured everything into that. It was the only release I had, you know. All I wanted to do was make music. Like, I would leave work early sometimes.
There was like
Just
no
so I could come home.
no social interaction with like a lot of people, or it was just like.
I don't go out. I don't go to bars. I don't go to. I don't even go to a lot of shows just because I fucking can't stand being around people. I've had some pretty intense experiences in this building, and I've seen some crazy shit in that room, completely so.
And it would make you feel like uptight and.
Well, it's kind of weird to even talk about, you know, because it's like I don't know if I can articulate exactly what the experience was like, but it was pretty freaky. Yeah, I spent a lot of time. I lived here for 10 years. Went through a lot of shit in that room right there.
And when did you leave? Like, what were the circumstances under like how you left?
I tried to end my life in that room right there. Didn't work out, so. And then I ended up moving to Oakland. It's a long story that's really not for other people.
Leviathan has always been an outlet for Jeff's pain and aggression, but in 2001 he released a different kind of demo under the name Lurker of Chalice. The music remained really dark, but expressed a more complex range of sounds and emotions.
If I were to do Leviathan live, I would play drums and somebody else would sing. It would be like a Leviathan cover band, you know, it'd be weird. So it's kind of why that's never happened. I've never
never want to be the guy who like has to show somebody all the guitar parts and all that stuff.
And when did like the Lurker with chalice stuff start coming into play?
Just like it's just a
Like what is it-
other music I have in me that's not, you know.
Right.
Leviathan is like all that anger and fucking hatred I can fucking muster. And it's not hard to muster, but it's like that's where that comes from. And Lurker wasn't. There was a muse for Lurker at the time. She's dead. So that's probably. I don't think Lurker will happen again.
That's when Jeff started opening up to me off camera. In 2006, his longtime girlfriend Jessie was diagnosed with brain cancer. After a year of extreme pain, she committed suicide.
That's Jessie. Every time she stayed at my house, she'd always write me, because I'd leave at work, and she'd stay in bed, she'd always write me a note. I saved them all.
Jeff then tried to take his own life. He survived, but hasn't recorded any new Leviathan or Lurker tracks since. When did you become first aware of this connection with nature? How old are you? What were
I
the
must have
circumstances?
been probably about 12, 13. My parents would, force me to go to like a Christian and a Mormon church, and to go in, like a mass gathering like that, I just felt nothing spiritual at all. I thought, this does nothing for me. How can these people believe in all this stuff? For me, it always felt like I could feel something, a spiritual essence, when I was by myself. And that was also around the same time that I was getting into black metal. And I found that the feeling that I got from nature and black metal music was exactly the same thing. Even though they were so separate, I thought, how can you get like something like nature and music? It's just music. Why is it I'm feeling this same kind of entity? And that's the foundation for, creating my own music. It just went hand in hand. Whether I'm out here or whether I'm in my bedroom composing music on the guitar, and sometimes I will transcend my astral body. So I'll be sitting in my room going, playing all this dissonant kind of black metal riffs. And at the same time, I can transcend to forests. Or I'm always connected. It's a part of me, it's always there.
There was a time when I was listening to Telepathic with the Deceased extensively, repetitively. It was during the winter time. It was in Chicago, just bleak, gray, overcast. I wasn't feeling so great, but I would listen to this record every single day, and it made a lot of sense to me. Do you think that's the appeal of that record? Is that who it's made for?
I've made a lot of albums during a lot of terrible, awful times, and that one probably was made at a very hard, yeah. I just like, yeah, I just had like I don't like really have real flashbacks because like I've only done acid once by accident. So, but I was having a different kind of flashback, and I was just like, like I was remembering really bad shit, you know. That album was just more, that was a really strange one to me. Like I was like really losing my mind at the time, basically. I couldn't tell the difference between day and night, and I couldn't tell the difference between 1 week or from the next or 1 month. You know, I was like I looked around me, is this life or is it not, you know? Luckily, I was able to take that and make something out of it, you know? I'm realizing more and more that I like a lot of other things, and, you know, like, you know, if I hear music like Lycia or Kansas.
Look who's here.
Oh gosh.
Rare appearance.
Like hearing music like that inspires me to play black metal. Not black metal doesn't inspire me to play black metal anymore, you know? I would really like to do something completely different and kind of stick to it for a while too. I wouldn't try to make happy music dark. That would just be not me. And but you know, I think of it like, well, what if I put my touches to this completely different kind of music that I like? Like, I think to myself, how fucked up would that be? You know, like fucked up, you know, in the way I like, you know. I want to get it. People identify what I've done with black metal, and I'd like to take what I do and turn it into something that doesn't have a name. When it comes to writing a lot of lyrics, mentally, you know, emotionally, like I have to go somewhere, like, you know, that's really what it is. Like I have to go somewhere where I really don't want to go. But there's something, there's something there.
Is it something like that happened in your past that you're trying to, you know, revisit in your own way and figure it out?
It's the future. It's the future and it's the past, both, you know. It is, you know. Sometimes I'll step into my own future and past, and I'll step through the eyes of someone else's future and past a lot of time.
Are you ever afraid that you're not going to get out of that space?
On one hand, I wonder if I ever really did make it out. Maybe this is one of the people I've turned into, and this person now is nobody.